So the quarterback carousel continues. Matt Ryan is going to the Indianapolis Colts, which is kind of a surprise, I feel like, a little bit. I mean, on one hand, it makes some sense. I'm going to make a film study kind of breaking this whole situation down. I do think Ryan fits that scheme very well. I think that Matt Ryan for the Indianapolis Colts, it makes sense. Like, I totally understand the logic. I think that he should fit the Frank Reich system well. He can do what Frank Reich is going to ask him to do. And I do think Ryan can still play. I know the past few years haven't been what we've seen from him the best, statistically. Now, not all of that is Ryan's fault. A good chunk of that is the team's fault. Although I also have to say, it's not like Indianapolis is this team loaded with a bunch of talented wide receivers. Like, everyone points to that Jacksonville game, Week 18, and that's probably why Wentz is gone. And Wentz wasn't great in that game, but only blaming Wentz, I think, would be silly in that game. There were so many issues in that one. I think that just simply putting all of the blame on Wentz, I think it's unfair. And I do think that things are very interesting. Also, we have the contract details as well. This is another, I think this is the benefit you're getting, because I think Wentz was getting about $30 million a year. Now Matt Ryan, the Colts are only going to pay him $23 million a year. So you're saving about a decent amount of money, around $5 million to $7 million on the exact number there. So you're saving some money, and you can get rid of him for no dead cap at any point. The Falcons pay all the dead caps. So if this doesn't work after a year, you can move on next year. So for the Indianapolis Colts, they keep going with different quarterbacks. I'm sure that they very much miss Andrew Luck at this point, because obviously he was the best one, and they, as we all remember, they turned down, or at least didn't make an effort for Brady. I don't know if they would have got him anyways, but that was the thing that happened, and they kind of been, they wouldn't have Philip Rivers instead. He was solid for a year. They go with, Carson Wentz for a year, and Wentz wasn't even awful for a year. Now they go with Matt Ryan, hopeful that they can get that next player, get it over the hump. So for the Indianapolis Colts, they're kind of just, I don't know, I guess the question is, like, how much better do we feel about them than we felt about them last year? I do think Ryan is an upgrade from Wentz. I don't know how big of an upgrade he is from Wentz, though, and that's where things get a little bit tricky, because public perception of Carson Wentz is not great. People are not big fans of Carson Wentz. I know that is very much true. For Matt Ryan, though, quite frankly, I kind of, Matt Ryan's good. I've always really liked Matt Ryan over the course of his career, but he hasn't played as well the past couple of years, and he certainly hasn't been worth the massive contract he got in Atlanta, although now that that contract's kind of, divided up a little bit, it makes it a lot more achievable. So I do think Ryan, I think the Colts are probably better than they were last year with Matt Ryan as opposed to Wentz. Like, I do think Ryan is better than Carson Wentz. I guess my question is, how much better? That's where I'm a little bit confused, and why I'm a little bit hesitant to go crazy over this for the Colts. Again, when you put those two together. Now, if you just look at it in a vacuum, like, yeah, you have no quarterback, getting like a pretty good starting quarterback for only, $23 million and only a third-round pick. That's all they had to give up. That alone is clearly good value. So I'm not mad at that whatsoever. I'm more so just a little bit confused about some of the other stuff. So that's interesting to me. Is I guess from the flip side of things, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons for a second. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know why you get rid of Matt Ryan. I guess clear up some money. That's probably the mindset. But I guess it's just kind of a weird situation for the Falcons, right? What do you do if you're a quarterback? I saw a report is apparently, this is from Mike Garafolo, said, now watch for Marcus Mariota to the Falcons. Sources say Atlanta is expected to pursue a reunion with Mariota and Arthur Smith, who was with Mariota during his time on the Titans. I mean, if that's the plan, like, I don't really know what we're gaining here, I guess, other than just a rebuild. And maybe that's what Falcons fans can help me out with, is what is really the goal here in getting rid of Matt Ryan? Because you have an okay quarterback. Now, he's a little bit older. I don't know if you're going to win a Super Bowl, especially with the money you were paying Matt Ryan. So tearing it down and rebuilding isn't the worst thing in the world, but you still have to always pay attention to the quarterback position. And that's kind of why I probably would, at the end of the day, say I still like the move from the Colts perspective, because the Colts, you're upgrading at the quarterback position. At the end of the day, I said this about the Stafford trade. You could argue it was too much, whatever. If you can upgrade at the quarterback position, you should upgrade at the quarterback position. And the Rams won a Super Bowl. Now, I don't know if the Colts are as talented as the Rams outside of the quarterback position, so that's where things get tricky as well, right? Part of why I liked it from the Rams' perspective is, hey, this is a chance to give you a Super Bowl this next year. It worked out. They won a Super Bowl that next year. For the Colts, I still think they have other issues. Like specifically, like I would love to see them get some like better wide receivers. Like, I like Pittman. Pittman's good, but they need help in that room. They do, and so that's where things get a little bit unique to me. Is with that. Who is Ryan going to be throwing to? I think that the schemes should be better, although Arthur Smith isn't bad at scheming this stuff up. So it's not like, at the end of the day, you need talented receivers regardless, whatever scheme you're playing. Even Sean Payton, like you saw him run into some issues, and he's obviously as good as anyone at that kind of stuff. So I still have that concern. I hope the Colts aren't done, I guess is what I'll say. They're still looking like they're a good team now with this Matt Ryan move. I think that they're looking like a playoff team because remember, they were basically a playoff caliber team last year. They didn't make it, but they were a playoff caliber team. Now, again, a lot of talent moved to the AFC, and even more talent now to the AFC with Matt Ryan going to the AFC. So it just keeps going that way. So it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough. I guess my question is, how good does this make the Colts? For right now, it feels like playoff contenders. But hey, you fill up a couple of those holes, and maybe you could take another, go another step further, which would be fascinating. So, yeah, I guess I'll say I like it from the Colts perspective. And from the Falcons perspective, I get it for sure. I guess I like it because you're saving cap space for a guy that you probably weren't going to win a Super Bowl with at this point in his career, and you're getting some draft capital back as well. The Falcons, I think, kind of acknowledge at this point, you know what, with this contract that we were giving Matt Ryan, we're in a rebuild. We just are, so let's just try to build for the future. And I guess that's a good thing. I think that teams oftentimes will get into trouble when they'll do things where they feel like they're better than they actually are, or just when you misjudge where you're at, period. So if you think you're a good team and then you trade assets to try to become a great team, but then all you did was make yourself decent, well, that's not good. And if you think that you're a bad team, but you're actually decent, and then you trade away plate pieces, that's not good either. The Falcons know they're not a great team as of right now. They have no receiving core, no quarterback, and their offensive line isn't great either. So especially in a league where offense tends to rule things, their offense is in some trouble, but it seems like this is a rebuild, and this is a way to help you rebuild, not just with the draft capital you actually get from Matt Ryan, but it seems like more so just the cap space you clear up, and maybe just not having someone at the quarterback position can help you. Maybe that'll actually be a benefit because it'll give you a better draft pick. This is kind of, somewhat similar to what the Detroit Lions were in for all those years, right? Where they had some talent around them, and Stafford was doing good enough to get them like 8 wins, but then you don't get a great draft pick, and so you can't really do that. Plus, it's not like you're great where you can acquire free agents that way. You're kind of just stuck in no man's land. So maybe that's some of the logic as well. It's interesting though. So interesting moves from both perspectives. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.